All right, welcome back to High School Sports Talk. Once again, I'm Josh Kirby. You can find my work at www.kirbyonsports.com. We have the Buffalo Wild Wings broadcast booth together again in Dan Gloster and Mike Optoff. Dan this week sent Mike to pick up the beat-ups in the rain on Saturday, which I just found to be very disrespectful. But Dan, Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, where are you at, Josh? You're not at home. Where are you?
Well, I am in Reston. I had to fumble around to make sure I got here on time at my buddy's house because tomorrow we will be traveling to Landover, Maryland, to watch the football team play the Chiefs, and Sean Taylor's number is getting retired.
Cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I am. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing Mahomes. Not looking forward to the Washington football team losing, but other than that.
It's just part of being a fan, man.
Absolutely.
What kind of seats you got?
I have not lower bowl, but mezzanine, the second level.
That's cool.
So not bad. So, gentlemen, we have some games to get to. You first off, Dan and Mike, you all called the James Wood versus Liberty contest. Liberty not looking too good this year, but the interesting stat, Dan, and I don't have this in front of me, so correct me if I'm wrong here,
Yep.
but Liberty ran more plays than James Wood, but James Wood just flat out dominated. You have Jaden Ashby with a 97-yard touchdown catch. You have a defensive interception, if I remember correctly. But Dan, Mike, whoever wants to start here, I mean, what a contest that was with the lopsided amount of plays and James Wood still finding a way to dominate.
Mike?
Yeah, I think the whole reason for the kind of lopsided plays, James Wood just had big plays, so they got in the end zone with just not really having to do much. So that kind of explains that. But yeah, they just started from first snap, just landing on the ball in the end zone, defense, and just dominated the game. And they're a really good team. It's cool to see big plays like that. Jaden Ashby, just watching him do what he does, and he's a heck of an athlete. So yeah, they're looking good this year. I think the fans are happy about it.
Yeah, I would agree with Mike. The big plays. I mean, that's a 2-play drive, and then Liberty's back on the field, and I'm not going to go Lou Holtz and say they're the best 0-6 team I've ever seen, but I mean they're competitive. So they were able to move the ball, and actually in the second half. You could almost say, I don't know if you would agree with this or not, Mike, but you could almost say that they outplayed James Wood in the second half, or at least played him even. James Wood didn't score, and they gave up a couple of scores. So, probably not the best way to end a game if you're James Wood. But, again, doing enough to win. To get a win, get back on the winning track after losing, at Jefferson. So, all in all, a good night for James Wood.
But still, Jaden Ashby, man, you watch him play, he looks pretty darn good.
He does, absolutely.
Dan, what were his stats for last night?
Let me quick look at my stat sheet again, Josh. Let's see. He had 3 touchdowns and an interception, and I guess he had over 100 and some yards, both receiving, and then he had 81 yards rushing on just 4 carries. So,
wow.
Again, we commented in the game that it was easy to see he was the best player for both teams on the field.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Mike, anything more to add to that, Jaden Ashby?
Yeah, I think we were looking at one of his stats there in the first half, and it was like he had 5 touches of the football offensively, and I think he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's like you look at that and you're like, man, this it's just one of those guys. Anytime he gets the ball, it's likely he's going to find the end zone.
Josh, I don't know how much you listened, but at one point he had a long run and he actually scored. They called it back on a penalty, but basically collapsed in the end zone. So we were thinking, oh man, this is bad. We thought, it's going to be a knee injury or something, but turned out it was just a cramp because he was back in the game, and we kind of thought maybe he shouldn't be playing anymore. Just kind of, but maybe based on what the trainer saw and what maybe he felt, he just like, you know what, let's get back in there and let's play some more football, and that's what they did. But yeah, he had 2. Remember, was it 2? I think it was 2 plays that were called back, Mike.
Yeah, that happened twice. He was in the end zone and it was called back.
Yeah. So it could have been more. So yeah, all great athlete, plays basketball, plays baseball, and of course football for James Wood. So one of their better athletes that I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. So James Wood 42, Liberty 24. Meridian over Clarke 14-7. I can't really say for sure, but what I noticed, this game was more of a defensive battle, a low-scoring game. Dan, I heard you tell me before we started this that Meridian is a pretty good football team, and for Clarke to only lose by 7, that kind of says a lot about how Clarke is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Meridian was undefeated. I believe Clarke was too, but Meridian was undefeated going into that game. It's the former George Mason Mustangs, George Mason High School out of I believe Falls Church. Or might be Stafford. I can't remember which one, but Falls Church. Yeah. So I didn't get a whole lot of a report on the game, honestly. So they were Clarke was leading for much of that game, and then I guess Meridian scored late to win it. But Clarke's, they should be in the playoffs, and they'll be competitive for sure.
Absolutely. The next game I want to touch on, Dan, this question is directed mainly to you since this is Mike's first year. Nothing against Mike or anything, but when is the last time you saw Handley beat Sherando, and by a score?
By that kind of score, I don't know. That it's maybe way back when Sherando opened, but I don't even remember that. But no, that was and it's one of those games, I think, where it's the score is deceiving. I mean, as much as Handley dominated in the second half, I think the score is still deceiving. That Sherando was step for step with them, led at halftime, but then I computed the final stats for the second half for Handley. They gained 313 yards compared to 91 in the first half. And then they limited Sherando to 126 after allowing just 118 to them in the second half. So, Handley just, I don't know what adjustments they made, but they just came out and played better in the second half and just ran away from Sherando. But to answer your question, I can't remember. They've always been tight games, and this one, again, it was tight for a while, but then once they got that lead, I think that they just felt it, and they just it snowballed after that for Sherando.
Wow. And with Micah Carlson at quarterback still, with Dylan Rutherford still hurt, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Mike, we were talking beforehand, and you sort of had a prediction, and I think it panned out. What did you see in this game between Handley and Sherando? Obviously, this must have been an electrifying victory for Handley, because I don't even remember the last time Handley beat Sherando, first and foremost. But what did you sort of see out of Handley that What stood out to you in Handley's win over Sherando? What did Handley do differently than in past weeks? Did they have Sharando's number? Go into that for me.
Well, I remember Handley beat Sherando in 2009 or 2010. I think Ross Matheny was a senior, and we lost that game. I was on that team. They lost. We lost that game on a missed field goal. So hard to lose that one. Then the year after we beat them, the year after that, which is 2010, 2011, the year I graduated, we lost to them my senior year. So I don't know if that helps you with your question, but yeah, Handley, we just say it, I think every time we do a Handley game, they just come out first half and it's almost like they match the speed of whatever team is in there that they're playing. So, and second half, whatever they do, whenever they go in the locker room, whatever they say, whatever they talk about, they come out second half and they're just, a whole different team, and they got this energy and they just dominate. And that's what they did today. So yeah, thanks for giving me the credit on the prediction. Feel pretty good about that, but it was no surprise. That's just how they play, I think. And I think if they want to be really successful this year, then they got to kind of up the tempo first half. So just basic Handley habits today, I think. And then Sherando played a good game first half. Just it's they got worn down. Handley's got a lot of athletes.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is that Sherando just really struggled offensively the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, not just the second half. The whole game they really struggled offensively. And like Mike said during the broadcast, the pass that Carlson threw to Gavin Bly in the end zone, that could easily have been picked off. It was Bly that kind of made the difference. He took it away from the defender for Handley. But yeah, in the end, Handley was the more complete team because Sherando just struggled so much on offense, where the defense kept them in the game as long as they could. But as we mentioned, they just got worn out. I mean, they just, because there were so many 3 and outs for Sherando in the second half. And so the defense is right back on the field after giving up, 6, 7, 8 play drive to Handley. Handley scored on the first 3 possessions of the third quarter. So, Sherando, they were tough, they were gritty, but in the end, they didn't have enough balance offensively to match their defense. And Handley just, was the better team.
Did weather play a factor in this game, do you think?
Sure did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I knew it downpoured, and I wasn't sure if it cleared up or it rained the entire game. But obviously, that more of a ground game approach. I'm not sure. Like I said, I did not have a chance to listen, but I would assume more of a ground game approach for both teams, since weather was rainy and the ball was slick, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the fumbles for Handley, they just couldn't take care of the ball in the first half. And then the second half, they screwed up the kickoff return, didn't even recover the kickoff. And then the 3 interceptions thrown by Carlson, that was critical in the game as well, going against Sherando. I think it was Aiden Willis, actually. He was in their jumbo formation, and he actually threw a pass. And if that's a dry football, there's a good chance he completes that pass to their tight end Garrett Cooper, but it just kind of slipped out of his hands. It was a little offline. So yeah, the weather definitely played a factor in the football game for sure. And it dried up a little bit towards the end. But at that point the game was already decided. But yeah, one of the nastier weather condition games that I've been involved with for sure.
Yeah. Sherando, I was kind of hoping, or not hoping, I was kind of expecting them to keep it on the ground more than they did, but they actually did throw the ball a little bit. Just looking at the stats of their passing coming in, I expected them to throw a lot less, rely on the ground game, especially since it was wet. And I just felt like they threw a lot more than I thought they would. Handley, same same deal. They kind of passed as much as they usually do, at least I think. I don't have stats in front of me, but it just seemed like they did. But yeah, we knew weather was going to be an issue, and I don't know how many fumbles there were, three or four, but yeah, drop passes, just it did dry up there towards the end of the game. So yeah, pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
and the irony is the one that kind of put the game out of reach was the touchdown pass, the long touchdown pass to Jacob Duffy, and that was just bad tackling by Sherando, and a great effort by. Don't take anything away from Jacob Duffy, but if you're on the sideline like that and you've got a chance, you should at least be able to maybe push him out of bounds, but he just got away and nobody could catch him. So that's kind of the irony of all that weather, is that game put them up 20-7, and that was pretty much the end of the game right there. But just one of those explosive plays. So we had the 97-yard touchdown pass last night. We've got one today. And that's a rarity, I would imagine,
Oh, yeah.
for any level of football.
Yeah, we got spoiled this weekend with some good plays.
Yeah, any good lordy wows this weekend on any of the 97-yarders?
I had an incredible. That was.
All right, last question coming out of this game. How many yards did Stephen Daly rush for?
I had him 14 for 70.
Only 70?
Yep, 63 though in the second half.
Yeah.
So
I was surprised. I thought he run the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, it was actually not the leading rusher. That's probably the first time that's happened this year. Emerson Ferguson led the judges with 86 yards. So, they shut him down, but Ferguson was the one that got him on the scoreboard first with the 50-yard touchdown. So, that's pretty important, because it kind of shows that you can't totally key on Daly. You gotta worry about the other guys too. But yeah, Sherando did a good job on him. They limited him. He had a fumble. So, again, just, it's a long game and 4 quarters of football, and Handley just played a little bit better.
All right, so once again, Handley 34, Sherando 7. In the last game, Kettle Run defeating Millbrook 47-16. Dan, Millbrook still looking for their elusive first win. Do you know anything about this game? Because I really did not get a chance to catch it. Any inside information?
No, I did not get any. That game was at Millbrook. I didn't get any info. It'll be in the Star. And I'm mistaken. Daly had 94 yards, not 86. So I forgot that last 24-yard touchdown run. So he did have 94 yards, not 70. So, so I think Millbrook's best chance to win is going to be next week at Liberty.
Yep.
So.
All right. So the game's next week, Millbrook at Liberty, and is there a game at Handley on Saturday?
No, they're at Kettle Run.
So just one game. It's Millbrook at Liberty next week for the guys, Dan Gloster and Mike Optoff. That about wraps it up for another edition of High School Sports Talk. Make sure you find me, www.kirbyonsports, so you can find all of my work there. Dan, Mike, thanks for coming on again. We appreciate it, and we'll see you all next week.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Bye, man. Take care.
Yes, always a pleasure. And in the wise words of Dan Gloster, our time is up. We thank you for yours. Good evening.